get us started. We get a lot of people still joining, but hopefully they'll catch us in flight. We do these power-ups in a short 30 minutes, and we'll give you hopefully some good actionable information. Welcome everyone to our second quarter power-up on 5 things your PSA PPM tool should do to support your resource management needs. I want to say special thanks to our sponsors, MavenLink, KeyedIn, and Tempest Resource. We appreciate their support of the Resource Management Institute, and certainly their involvement in helping to advance the technology side of resource management and the needs that all of you have in the marketplace. So we're delighted to do this. This is Randy Miskelvic, Managing Director of the Resource Management Institute. And for those of you not familiar with the RMI, just a brief commercial. We are an institute dedicated to the advancement of resource and workforce management. And as you all know, having the right person in the right place at the right moment in time with the right skills to do your projects is pretty critical to improving project performance, resource utilization, improving customer sat and employee engagement. And we do a lot of different things. Please check out our website. You know, in addition to events like this, we provide market research and white papers. We do training and education, and we run a series of events throughout the year. Of course, we have a world-class certification program for resource managers. If you haven't been to our website, we just refreshed. It's a new website. Would encourage you to go out there with opportunities to collaborate, educate, and innovate through the information provided through that website, our various events and broadcasts, and of course, again, our training for resource managers. Best thing about the RMI is you get to join for free. So if you just go to the website, click on this button up here, and you can join the nearly 800 corporate companies that have people participating in the Institute and its activities. So with that, I'm going to move on to the topic of the day, which is, again, 5 things your PSA PPM tool should do to support your resource management needs. We get all kinds of questions about, what's the best tool and how do we go about picking one, and what features and functions that tool should have, et cetera. And I'm delighted today to introduce to you Wade Little, a partner with RTM Consulting, which is the parent of the Institute. Wade has, for a number of years, run our digital transformation practice at RTM Consulting, and spends his day with his team helping people select and implement PSA and PPM tools. And so he's got a lot to say about the resource management specifics as it relates to that. So with that, Wade, I'm going to turn the agenda over to you. And if you'd like me to go to your first slide, I'll do that.
Yeah, thanks, Randy. Please advance to the next slide. So again, just a little bit about myself. As Randy said, I lead our technology practice here at RTM, where we focus on PSA, PPM, and really just automation in general. And prior to RTM, I spent almost 30 years at various other companies, primarily the big 5 consulting companies working on technology projects. So I've been at this for a while. And one thing I've learned is that technology alone is not a panacea or a be-all, end-all. You need to combine it with good process and good people. And that is what digital transformation is about, and it should be about driving better business outcomes. And as we think about technology to enable key processes like resource management, we often see companies embark on a journey. Many start here on the left with very bespoke and unconnected systems. Resource management, if done at all, is done using spreadsheets and tribal knowledge. For most companies, in particular mid-sized companies and large companies, this really isn't scalable. And so they move along this continuum here towards automation, where they automate core delivery functions like resource management, and often it's integrated with other core functions like project management, time and expense capture, and project accounting. So Randy, if you could advance to the next slide. And so, as I mentioned before, digital transformation is about driving better business outcomes. And as companies move along this journey from a more manual and bespoke environment to one that's more automated, there are some high impact capabilities that can help drive these better business outcomes, both for you and for your customers. And so, while there are dozens of features, we could spend lots of time talking about all of those. But we're going to focus on the ones today that I think drive the greatest benefit. And we're going to go into a little bit more depth for each of these. All right, so next slide. Next slide. Okay, great.
Yeah,
Perfect.
it's been
Thank you.
advanced. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little delay there. Okay, thanks. Yeah, so the first capability on the list is skills management. And the reality is that very rarely is your customer looking for just anyone. They want someone specific, someone with specific skills. They're looking for somebody that knows Java, or somebody that knows Salesforce, or maybe it's a specific product in your own company's portfolio. Maybe they need a certification or a government clearance, or speak a certain language. And maybe it's not one skill, but it's multiple skills, and you need all of these. And I know I don't have to tell you how important it is to get the right person with the right skills onto a project. And so when I'm looking for someone in my company, or maybe even externally, I should be able to search by skill or by multiple skills. I should easily be able to see the best fit, where the criteria is met and where it isn't. Again, sometimes this is about trade-offs. The person meets these three criteria, but not the fourth, and can I live with that? So, the tool should also be able to support a process to keep these up to date. So perhaps it's a place where the consultants can go and update their skills, and add new ones, and maybe get those routed for approval by manager, for example. And so when I think about the business outcome of using skills, it's about finding the right person with the right capabilities to meet the needs of the company. So mostly, better client satisfaction and likely better project margins for having the right person with the right skills. And then if I think about maybe some more advanced features that some tools may offer in this area, it's that they're also able to tap into third-party resources and to know what those skills and capabilities are as well. Okay, Randy, next slide, please. Okay, great. And if I think about the most basic resource management feature, it's being able to match demand with supply. I should be able to take a request, search for a resource, and assign that resource. And furthermore, should be able to do the searching and the staffing in the same tool. I know a lot of people not using a PSA or a PPM tool or a resource management tool will search offline in a spreadsheet and then have to swivel chair back into a tool to do the actual staffing and putting a name to the assignment. And there can be all sorts of challenges with that. At the minimum, having to maintain some of the same information in multiple systems. And previously, we talked about using skills in the search, but when you're searching, you should also be able to search for things like role and location, maybe level of the resource, they're a senior consultant, a VP, and then maybe even something like a business unit or some type of an organizational construct. And so, if I'm trying to find a technical consultant who knows, Microsoft.net, for example, located in California, I should be able to search for those things and then staff based on the best fit. I mentioned this before, but I should also be able to include third party in my search, and then be able to make those trade-offs on when to use, an internal resource versus an external. Ideally, the solution should rate or rank best fit based on all of the criteria I've outlined, to include things like availability, plus matching my requirements for those other things that we had talked about, like skills and location, etc. And again, this business outcome is mostly about finding the best resource, but also doing it very efficiently. And then when I think about some of the more advanced capabilities in this area, and this is pretty exciting, that they're having the tool auto-complete the assignment. So using AI type features, again, going out and finding the optimal resource and actually auto-completing the assignment, or even in some cases, auto-staffing the entire project. Those are some of the more advanced features that come to mind. Okay, Randy, next slide. I think is that one too many?
Sorry, Wade. Did it go too? Okay, there you go. Sorry about that.
Okay, yeah, sorry, the little delay there. Okay, perfect. This is okay. So resourcing before a project is sold, or in the case of using maybe a PPM tool before the project is approved internally, is really about being proactive rather than reactive. So how many times do you get a request on a Wednesday or Thursday or even Friday that says, I have a project that's starting on Monday and I need boots on the ground? And so you're scrambling to find people, and this isn't an ideal situation, obviously. It more often than not leads to delivery issues, client satisfaction issues, lower margins. All sorts of bad things can happen. Another situation that I've seen is where you just maybe staffed a key critical resource because he or she was available, and maybe it wasn't the most strategic project, but you wanted to get that person onto a project, and now a week or two later there's a huge strategic project that was just sold or approved, that the resource would be a difference maker on. And so a better practice is to build out the staffing plan before the project is sold or approved. Earmark or soft book those resources, move the puzzle pieces around ahead of time, and get the best fit for the best projects. And so your PSA or PPM or RM tool should support the ability to do this, and you should be able to see who's hard booked versus who's soft booked. You can then deal with the conflicts or potential conflicts before they happen, and make the best decision overall for the organization and for your customers, rather than it being too late. Now, typically this requires integration with either your CRM system, if you're client-facing delivery, or your strategic planning system if you're using something like a PPM tool. That's the technical part, but at minimum, it requires some process integration. You need to collaborate, with your sales teams. Again, if you're using something like a PSA tool, or your strategic planning team if you're using PPM. Again, people, process, technology. And again, so the business outcome here is primarily about faster delivery. Faster delivery for your customers and revenue acceleration for your company. And then secondary benefits, of course, are by sorting out all of the conflicts beforehand and going in with a more optimum team is better margins and better client satisfaction. Okay, next slide. All right, capacity management and forecasting. So, so far, most of what we've talked about is what I'd call a little bit more tactical, searching for and assigning specific resources to a project. Capacity management is more broad and more strategic. And this is about looking at the organization, either it's an entirety or certain segments, for example, by region or practice in some cases, or even perhaps by role. And the idea here is I should be able to see both my supply and my demand. And I know some people have done capacity planning, based on trends and what happened last year, the year before. I did this much business with this many people last year, and I expect to grow, 20%. So I need 20% more people, and that's maybe fine at a super macro level. But I really need a more bottoms-up view, one that shows that I might be fine in January and February, but we just won this huge project that's starting in March, all the way through July, and I don't have enough people. So I need to hire or fire or find some contractors or third party. And if I'm doing, all the things that we've talked about before, and I have that visibility into demand, I should be able to see these peaks and valleys and then plan accordingly. I should also be able to see kind of the organization at a glance and see the holes where I have utilization gaps. And so maybe, on the whole, I'm fine, but there are a couple of resources who are, underutilized, or roles that are unutilized, and the tool should show that. So, if you have a governance process around capacity management, I can then have the discussion with my peers or other stakeholders. Why is, John underutilized, and how do we get him, more busy? Ideally, I should be able to see this view by role as well. So, I can see I'm running low on project managers. I need to do something about that. So either go, hire more people or train more people, or look to a contractor pool. And so this is where resource management is absolutely a critical function in the organization. It drives everything else. So all of the things that we talked about around staffing and the resource plans and staffing ahead of projects, they drive the resource forecast, cost forecast, and even the revenue forecast in some cases for PSA type projects, for example. And so it's important to have a good resource management process and the supporting tools. Otherwise, there's little fidelity in the data and suboptimal decision making. Okay, and then on to our last slide here, Randy. And so again, when I think about maybe some of the more advanced features that are coming out in today's technology, with project team modeling, the idea here is that you should be able to model various scenarios. So you're not always going to have a perfect answer, perhaps, and resource management, as we know, involves trade-offs. And so when you can model various scenarios, you can see the impact of switching in or out certain resources or groups of resources. And so, what happens if I apply a discount, or what happens if I use offshore versus an onshore team, or what happens if I use, Joe rather than Tom, right? So I can get down to a specific resource. And the tool should be able to enable me to do this, and I should be able to see the impact on the project margins. And then from there, I can perhaps get more eyes on the various scenarios by other stakeholders, and again make the best decision overall for the organization. Now, this is modeling scenarios for a single assignment. But I should be able to do this at an entire project level as well, or even at an organizational level. So maybe via some sort of a dynamic, kind of master resource schedule or console. I should be able to see kind of the entire organization, or perhaps parts of it, and who's on what project and for how long, and then do dynamically some changes. Like, I see this particular resource has availability during the week and I need them except for Thursday and Friday. What if I shifted their assignment around to make them available for those 2 days? What does that do? What's the impact on that? Does it impact the project they're rolling, onto, downstream? So again, these are all features and capabilities that drive better business outcomes. So it's not just technology for technology's sake, but about driving better business outcomes for our customers and for our company. So with that, Randy, back over to you.
So again, Wade represents our PS Digital practice at RTM Consulting. And Wade, thank you for sharing your insights. And we're going to have Wade take a few questions from the audience. I just want to update everybody on just a few quick things. And so just a reminder of the Resource Management Certified Professional Program. If you're not an RMCP already, please take a look at the program where you get a chance to learn best practices. You get access to a resource center specific to resource managers, and opportunities to collaborate with your industry peers through our various tools. So the class comes in 3 different formats: in person, online, or on demand, and you can kind of pick which one fits your schedule the best. And you can see the prices there between $17.95 and $19.95, which includes materials, your testing fees, and for those who are PMPs, a further opportunity to learn to earn PDUs. We teach just-in-time resourcing, which is the RMI's branded process solution for resource management. We'll teach you those 6 elements that put together and build a world-class resource management environment for you and your businesses. And by the way, we're now offering digital badges through Credly. And for people who graduate in the program, you can get access to all this information through our website. There's a schedule for upcoming classes in Cincinnati, a couple coming up later this year, multiple opportunities for online RMCP, including those in Asia Pac. We've got a night class coming up that we're running that'll be more in time zone for them. But 4 different opportunities coming up in the remainder of the year for that. And then I would also mention we certainly have on demand, which is available 24/7. You can just pay through the website and get going and take your test there online. And then lastly, for those of you who are RMCPs, we do have a new class called Advanced RM, and we run 2 groups through that already. Got great feedback. Hope you'll take a look at that. Our next event coming up is RMI Connect, and we ran one of these last year during the time of COVID, and this event is coming up is September 22nd and 23rd. It's 2 mini events that run about a little less than 3 hours each day, focused entirely on resource management maturity. So you can download a copy of our maturity model from the website, and that event's going to be all things focused on our maturity. We've got some great speakers, some panels, and we're using Zoom to make this very, very interactive with the people that participate. It's $149 to participate, and if you get in by July 15th. And last, I'll just mention this, our premier event coming up in April of 2022 in Dallas, Texas. It's our 3rd annual Resource Management Global Symposium. We're delighted to be able to get people back together in person. And last time we ran this, we had 140 people from, I want to say 12 different countries around the globe, 60 different companies. It's a great opportunity for your resource manager to collaborate with your industry peers. And then as I get into the Q&A here, just want to mention again, thanks you to our sponsors, MavenLink, Keyed In, and Tempest Resource. We appreciate their support. So Wade, we have some questions for you. I'm going to start off with the first one. So first question for somebody asked, for doing staff planning before the project is sold or approved, do you mean to plan all potential projects, or what is the leading practice in this regard?
Yeah, great question, Randy. I always use the term Goldilocks when I talk about staffing before the project, because if you staff too soon, or if you start to build out the plan too soon, number one, you could potentially lose those projects, and so it's a lot of effort, and potentially a lot of wasted effort in that case. And if you staff too late, obviously you get all of those issues that I talked about previously. So it really is about finding that Goldilocks zone, not too soon and not too late. And so typically, every customer is a little bit different, but typically we say when you reach about a 70% probability. So, when you have something that you feel pretty good about and about to go into, negotiation. And another criteria that we use is generally about 30 days out is when we want to start to look at, staffing plans. So great question.
Okay, so the next question in the panel is to what degree should we include partners and third-party resources in our systems for resource management?
So another great question, and I think I mentioned it kind of throughout the presentation, and as you probably saw in our just-in-time resourcing framework, third-party is absolutely an essential piece of resource management. So it's not just about looking at resources internally, but also looking at third-party resources and being able to understand their skills and capabilities, where they're located, the cost structure and the impacts on margins and things like that are absolutely essential in resource management, and these tools should be able to support that as well.
Okay, so there's a question in here that I want to read to you real quickly. Probably the last one we're going to be able to take is, how important do you feel associate time tracking is within the tool? Our org has been having issues getting associates to track their times. We're assessing the option to not track time as we transition to new workflow management tool with essentially only resource based off of estimates.
Well, so it's a good question, and based on the way the question is worded, I'm going to assume that is in a more PPM type of an environment, because if you're client facing and using something like time and materials, for example, you're going to have to capture time so that you can invoice your customers, and in some cases, even for fixed price, sometimes that can drive how you account for revenue. But in a PPM environment, again, I think that it's important to understand time capture, at least even if it's directionally, so that you can understand the cost of delivering those projects, and also can be used for scoping out future projects and resource management needs.
Right. Okay. We are back at the top of the hour. Again, a special thanks to our three sponsors for this event. Wade, thank you for your time and sharing your insights here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I hope you join the next Power Ups coming up in September. And again, please look into RMI Connect coming up in the latter part of September. It's going to be a great event. Some terrific information on RM maturity and how to use the model, and how people are transitioning and transforming their resource management capabilities. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We look forward to speaking with you again soon.